You're listening to Three Kitchens Podcast, hosted by Heather Dyer and Aaron Walker. We're on a mission to inspire home cooks like us to try new recipes and make good food.
Hello and welcome to Three Kitchens Podcast. Hi Aaron, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Heather. How are you?
I am great. And do you know why?
I have a feeling it has to do with this week's special guests.
Yes, because I love this episode. I say that a lot. I think we both say that often, but really it was so fun and we made so many cool things.
Yeah, so we're a week away from Christmas. It's getting down to the line, and we've got some great guests who are going to tell us how we can really up our holiday drinks and food with smoke.
With smoke. That's what's so fun about it.
So much fun.
So, listener, please join us in welcoming Brandon and Meredith from Spirits with Smoke. They are here to tell you how you can level up your cocktails and snacks with smoke in your kitchen.
Yeah, and if you like to play around in the kitchen, which I think maybe you do if you're listening to us, this is another tool/toy that you can bring into your home and enjoy.
Oh yeah, it's totally a toy. So fun.
Excellent. Well, enjoy this conversation, and we'll be back in the second half to tell you what we got into, because we actually got together in Heather's kitchen and had a whole bunch of fun playing around and testing this out. So enjoy our conversation.
And a big thank you to Spirits with Smoke for joining us, and everybody check them out. Welcome, Spirits with Smoke, Brandon and Meredith. We're so happy to have you here on Three Kitchens Podcast to talk about smoking cocktails.
Well, thank you guys so much for having us. We're really excited.
Really excited. Yeah, it was great.
This is cool. So about a year ago, a friend of mine was in town briefly for business, and we met up at the Fairmont Palliser Hotel lobby bar. And who was the bartender?
Was it me, this guy?
That was Brandon. He was our bartender.
I'm so sorry.
Stop it.
No, it was great. And we were having a couple of drinks, and we said, what are you into right now? What do you want to mix up for us? Because we were like, just mix us a drink. And out comes a smoking, I don't even know what you call it actually, the smoking kit that goes on top of the glass. You can tell us all about it. And I was intrigued, and I said to Aaron, I have this really great cocktail and we need to talk to these people at some point. So it's been a while, but we're back and we're talking about it, and I'm so happy to have you guys here.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that was definitely our smoking saucer there. Just our really flashy piece for cocktails. And yeah, no, I'm glad you reached out, and it's definitely been quite a journey getting us going, and yeah, it's been fun.
Well, why don't you tell us about your experience in bartending? Clearly you've got some if you're working behind the bar there, and how that kind of gave rise to Spirits with Smoke.
Yeah, so Spirits with Smoke started at a bar called 118 Empire in Calgary. Me and my other business partner, Antonio, who couldn't make it for this, were on the staff there, and we had helped them come up. Well, as you do after work, you go and have some drinks. We might have had some drinks until pretty late at night, but we ended up coming up with their cocktail smoking program there, where they had 5 different woods to choose from. You could choose your bitters, your maple syrup, and your bourbon. And it was like a make your own old fashioned. So my business partner is a woodworker, and he was like, I'll make the boards on the side. And it kind of just blew up from there. And then people just wanted their own boards. Yeah, we kind of figured we had something, so we just ran with it.
Yeah, that's cool. And how did you get involved, Brandon?
I was actually working at 118 Empire, and it's actually down in the Marriott Hotel in Calgary here. And so we started smoking cocktails, and I just got involved and thought it was really intriguing. And when that was implemented into the cocktail program, it kind of blew up, and got all the craze around the city. A lot of good word of mouth came, and it was just really busy. And we just thought, we had something here. Then started branching out to other restaurants, and then started making kits for people at home. And and then it just went from there.
5 years later, here we are.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's so cool.
Yeah, it seems like home bartending has really exploded over the last.
One thing I will say about COVID is it definitely took away the mystique of bartending a little bit. People realized they could do it at home. They were forced to learn how to do it at home. And then we're like, oh, okay, this is not that bad. So it really gave a rise to people wanting to learn even more and to like refine their skills and to add smoking into their repertoire.
Yeah.
Where did smoking cocktails originate?
I mean, it's kind of been around for probably since like the early 90s, I would say. It wasn't something that really kind of came onto the scene until probably 2005, 2006. And then kind of just slowly inch their way forward, especially in 2010 when bartending became more about craft bartending again. In the 90s, it was all about the flavored vodka, like going to the club, those really gross drinks. And then finally, people kind of came back to the core of bartending, wanted something with a little bit more elevation, technique, just like real ingredients. So once people started catching on like that, just like they did with their food, people started looking for different ways to elevate their drinks.
People got tired of making kind of the same old thing. And then, with these cocktail competitions, right, they really want to elevate their game, and not only having a delicious tasting cocktail, but they want to have it smell great as well. So definitely performing in front of the judges and having that smoke come out, like really started to have the flair and the visual appeal to cocktails.
Yeah, like for instance, if you guys ever watched Drink Masters on Netflix, like their very first episode was about smoked cocktails.
Yeah.
So that's kind of shows how much it's permeated the everyday cocktail bar, not just the few.
Right.
So there's a couple of different methods for smoking cocktails. Is that right? You mentioned the board. What is that about?
Yeah, so we came up with a few different methods. So we have our cocktail smoking board where we've combined 5 different woods onto the same board. So you have your walnut, your oak, your maple, your hickory, and your cherry. Each one has a different aroma, so it's going to have a different flavor profile, so it will affect your drink in different ways. We came up with that method primarily for restaurants at first because it just sped up service. Before, people were using the poly-sci guns and like the cloche where you lift it up and you have that great visual. It just took way too long to get to the table. So we came up with a table-side version of that where it would take maybe 15-20 seconds to smoke. So it really brought down drink time. So we made more money.
Like a lot of restaurants are using those domes, like glass and all that. But they're pretty clunky behind the bar. Like they get dirty, hard to clean. They break easily. So we were talking, it's like, there's got to be a better way. So coming up with the smoking saucer, it's quick, it's efficient, it's really fast to use. And we felt that was kind of the best approach. And especially speed of service, like Meredith said, like that's pretty clutch for restaurants that are extremely busy and pumping out high volume cocktails. So that's kind of where we came up with that.
Right. So the saucer is like, just as it's called, it's a saucer and it sits on top. So you would mix your cocktail and then you put your saucer on top, put your wood chips in and get them smoking. Have I got that right?
That's exactly how it works. You can smoke your glass first if you want it as well. We always say it has really great versatility that way. You can smoke before or after you've poured your cocktail, and you can do it right in front of you as well. So it really gives both that visual like spectacle as well as just really adds a lot of great flavor.
And I would think that if anybody's a little nervous at home about having a board, kind of getting the board smoking, put the glasses on, whatever. And I thought, if you're a few drinks in and you're someone who's maybe a little clumsy like me, I'd be a little nervous about like just freely lighting things on fire. So I kind of like that the saucer is contained. It feels safe to me.
Exactly. Yeah. It's all about like comfort level. And so that is definitely one of the benefits as well. People are used to working with wood chips more than just straight wood. So it's also kind of become a kitchen tool. The nice thing about it is it fits on top of like mason jars. So we made sure it fits like multiple size of glasses. So all smoked cheeses, all smoked salts. It's really replaced like the traditional smoking gun.
Oh,
A kitchen tool as well, if you will. Like even with the wood chips, we came out with 3 different flavors. Actually, we liquor infused the wood chips in the warehouse here in Calgary.
I mean, why not? If you're gonna make your own wood chips, it's an no-brainer.
Exactly. Like people can experiment at home. Like we have cognac cherry, we have rum and maple, bourbon and oak. So people can really play around with different flavors and just be like, oh, this goes great with my old fashioned, or this one kind of tastes a little better with my margarita. That's kind of what it's all about, and just experimenting at home.
Well, that leads me to my next question, which I feel like Heather is also thinking, what kind of cocktails do you smoke, or can you smoke everything? What are the boundaries? What are the rules?
No boundaries. It's all about just like you and your palate and what your taste is. It's all about just aroma. The power of aroma is so much of what we consider to be taste. It's like when you have that winter cold and you can't taste anything because you can't smell anything, smoking it brings that aroma back into your drink. So the moment you have that sip, your palate is as open as it's going to be. I love to smoke margaritas. I love to smoke negronis, old fashions. You'll even smoke martinis. I hate martinis, so I won't, but
It's just giving people the option to play around at home, but like something that like we start out with something that's like your spirit that is barrel aged, goes good with smoke inside the barrel, but then we just kind of expanded from there, and like a nice Manhattan, but then the citrus of a margarita, even a mezcal is just awesome. Cosmopolitans, like it's just
I've had
like
people smoke their beer.
That's really cool.
I love that it's kind of just play around with it and find what combination you like and try different things. Love it.
Yeah, exactly. It's fun.
bringing the people together.
Yeah, you're not just pulling a bottle out of the fridge and handing it to your guest or whatever, when you're hanging out at your house. You can all gather around at the kitchen island and like make cocktails in a different way. I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
The nice thing too is like if you don't drink, like if you make a mocktail, it's really good to smoke it as well because it just helps add a little bit of that body that typical mocktails are missing when they don't have like your traditional spirit in there. So it kind of helps it make it feel like a full rounded cocktail. And if you are just going to have a drink at home, you might as well just make it the best drink you can.
Right?
Well, yeah, exactly. Why, just because you're at home, should you have the most basic drink you can think of? Why not elevate it?
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I love that you can do the mocktails too. Erin doesn't drink alcohol, so I was like, "Ooh, what can I serve Erin? What can I smoke for Erin when she comes over?"
I like the idea of smoking salt. How does that work? What do you do with that?
Essentially, our saucer fits on top of all the mason jars. I would just take like a Himalayan salt. I would fill it up. I would smoke it and then seal it and just let it sit. And then that smoke kind of gets incorporated into the salt. The same concept is for the cheese. I will do that for even like some soups. If I want to have like a smoked cheddar soup would be really good. It's for small volume, of course, because you're having your saucer, but I live alone, so it's fine.
I love it. Ooh, that sounds fun. I like this idea.
That's really neat. I like that a lot. That's going to be...
You're going to go smoke all kinds of things, aren't you?
Possibly.
Yeah. Perfect. Now, the other thing we were curious about, and you have some of this on your website, is using bitters in cocktails as well. So what can you tell us about that? We're not really very familiar with bitters. I think most people recognize Angostura as an ingredient that goes into cocktails, but what is it?
Bitters are essentially like a tincture. It's like a very, very reduced liqueur. So technically it is still an alcohol. In like Canada, at least, you can't make your own bitters and then serve them, because that would be essentially moonshine.
Yeah.
But essentially it's made up of like dried herbs, fruits, spices.
Yeah, it's like liquid flavored spice, basically. Just adding those extra aromas into your cocktail. Like sometimes if it's like an old fashioned, you just put a couple drops in there and it really makes it well rounded and add some extra spice flavor to your cocktail.
Yeah, it's just very, very concentrated. So a few drops really imparts a lot of flavor. So you won't have very many cocktails out there that use more than 2 to 3 drops of bitters.
Okay. And I've noticed there's like a whole variety of bitters now too, like the Angostura ones that we were mentioning there used to be like the only thing you could find. And now I recently went to the store and there was like a whole shelf full of different bitters.
Yeah, just like how craft beer has exploded over the last decade and a half, so has like the bitter industry. People are really excited to play with different flavors. So where you would only have 4 or 5 2 decades ago, now people have been adding blueberries and blackberries and pomegranate and hibiscus. Really, the world's kind of your oyster there. And it's just really fun, actually. Like people have been coming up with some really, really cool combinations like token bitter in Edmonton. We work with them quite regularly. Same with Black Cloud Bitters here in Calgary.
Oh, okay, cool.
Give us an example or recommendation of a combination if someone wants to try out these things at home. They want a smoked drink with bitters. What are we pairing?
I think definitely one that comes to mind that we came up with a couple of years ago. We actually had someone at the bar be like, no, I don't like old fashions. I just like wine. Like, can you make us an old fashioned that tastes like a wine? It wasn't as busy, so time to experiment, right? So went behind the bar and just be like, what would go good to make, like what bitters would go really well to make a great old fashioned? And so we thought red grape, we had plum bitters behind the bar. So incorporated plum bitters. Instead of simple syrup, we used maple syrup. And then we used Woodford Double Oak. That's a bourbon out of Kentucky there. And Angostura bitters. So once we tried that, figured out how many drops each, then it really just came out. And
then we smoked it with oak. So I kind of mimicked the oak wine barrel feel as well. And it just, obviously it's still an old fashioned. We didn't just duplicate wine, but it did give it that depth of feel. And the person loved it. Another example is like one day I just like went up to Brandon and I was like, make the weirdest old fashioned you can. And he combined celery bitters
with grapefruit
bitters and barefaced Canadian whiskey. And it was the coolest old fashioned. I can't describe. It just had a really great umami.
Yeah, I think what you said, Bastard, like this tastes like a garden.
Like, but it was just such a good old fashioned. And it was the most unexpected combination. So that's kind of why we always encourage people just to try it. You never really know what's going to work until you have a sip.
Exactly.
Well, yeah, I wouldn't have thought of those flavors. First of all, I wouldn't have thought of celery in anything but a Caesar. So
yeah,
obviously.
Yeah, we were all shocked. We ended up calling it the garden gnome.
Oh, cute. That's cute.
But I don't know, it was good enough that the executives put it on the menu and went from there.
Nice. Oh, I can't wait to try some of these. I'm going to be taking notes. I'm so glad it's recorded.
Yeah, right?
Yeah.
So do you have a favorite smoked cocktail that if people are getting together for the holidays, for the season, they're not totally comfortable with experimenting with all the flavors? What's something that you think would satisfy, the crowd if you're hosting a party?
Yeah, I mean, it depends on the season. Like when it's really warm out, I always go for like a smoked margarita. Like I want something refreshing. But when it gets nice and cold and I just want to go home and huddle under blankets, I'm a big fan of like a smoked Negroni.
Yeah.
I feel like Negronis are, they're having a moment right now. So they're very like crowd pleasing. And it just takes so well to like say cherry smoke or maple smoke with a little more fruitiness, a little lighter. That would probably be my suggestion.
Yeah. I was going to say the Negroni as well, especially in the festive holiday season.
You can't just copy me.
Well, come on. Yeah, with the sweet vermouth that's in there and then the gin, it makes it really well-rounded. And the Campari has that little bit of a tart component to it as well. And I think it's a really good crowd pleaser wherever you go. And definitely my favorite cocktail on the docket right now.
Yeah, but of course, like we always suggest old fashions for people. That is definitely the first cocktail that people think of to smoke. It just goes so well with bourbon because bourbon is in a charred American oak barrel. So we're really mimicking those charred flavors that are naturally appearing in bourbon and just kind of bookending it a little bit. So you kind of bring that out at the very end.
Can't wait to try all of these.
I've been seeing the Negroni making its rounds, and it has me so curious.
Definitely the ingredient, the specs now, like if you go to just other restaurants are just equal parts all the way around. But for me and for us, I feel having your Negroni as just a little bit more gin forward, just really make those three spirits come together in a different way instead of just putting them all together in equal parts. I found that the taste is better for my palate.
So what's the ratio?
Well, usually if I'm doing a little heavier one, it's definitely 1.5 ounces of gin or 1.25, and then a full ounce of Campari, and then either 0.5 or 0.75 of sweet vermouth.
So it's definitely more than a 3-ounce cocktail.
Yeah. We can dial it back and just make it gin forward for sure, right?
Yeah, do your math. Get the fractions going and get your kids to do if you're us, get your kids to do the math.
Make it a learning lesson.
Yes, while I have my drink. Yeah, it's great. I love that idea. I'm a big gin fan, so I love gin. So I love the idea of the gin forward take on it. Love that.
Mm-hmm. I would like to try some of the have you ever worked with the non-alcoholic gin or the
a little bit like seedlip
is
there's
the
a couple different ones. We don't work with it too much, essentially only when when we do events and our guests like request a mocktail, but I have been getting into just making some like really great mocktails with just like juices and like different combinations there to like make up for the volume that way, more than just like trying to do a replicated non-alcoholic spirit. But it's definitely something like we're getting more and more into for sure.
But you definitely see a lot more mocktails on cocktail lists throughout a lot of restaurants, which is great. It's a great selling point. Obviously, not everyone enjoys a spirit. So it's definitely a great option and it's fun to play around with. For sure.
Yeah, we've heard that there's in like New York, there's even mocktail only bars now that are just serve non-alcoholic drinks, and so it's kind of starting to have its moment too.
Yeah, I would say it's probably been one of the biggest cocktail trends in 2023 and 2022. I think people went a little overboard during COVID and were like, back. So people are like, oh, okay, but I still want to go out and have like an experience.
Yeah, exactly. And just for the record, listener, that was not Erin's issue. She didn't overdo it. Didn't have to quit.
Sorry.
No, it's fine.
Hi, my name's Erin. Oh, is this not the right group?
No, you're all good. You're all good. Okay, so since Erin and I are more cooks than we are bartenders, although we can certainly improve our skills and we'll work on that. What kinds of food pair well with smoked cocktails?
Like my favorite cuisine is authentic Mexican cuisine. I think they pair really, really well. There's just such a natural smokiness in cuisine to begin with. So like a smoked margarita goes really well with that. Even like a smoked tequila old fashioned would go really, really well. Or even going on to the heavier like English family dinner, like a roast.
Absolutely. Like even like barbecue is really good with that as well. Like I know you don't want to do too much smoke on smoke and be kind of a little overpowering, but you can really play around with it, and some different flavors are great with barbecue.
I think that's the one that probably would come to mind is barbecue, just because it's all everything's already smoked. You're in it. We were at a barbecue competition a couple of months ago, and it's just that smell, like you're just surrounded by it and you just want all the smoked things. So I can see that one makes sense. I think with like a red meat, like you said, a roast or like shepherd's pie or like something like that, just to me says, let's have something smoky with that.
Like I'm hungry right now.
This is how it usually ends, is we all end up with our stomachs grumbling at the end and we're like, well, this has been nice, but now I have to go eat.
We all need to go eat. Yeah. And have a drink. Oh, this is so fun. I can't wait to try some of these drinks. And listeners, go check out Spirits with Smoke social media. channels because you guys do some really cool videos that I've seen, or maybe it was on your website, where you're showing how you're mixing the drinks. I mean, obviously you make it look like an art, fancy and cool and just like really amazing. We're not going to try to replicate all of that at home because you make it look so good, but it's really fun to watch. It really is like an experience.
Oh, thank you.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, we try to upload a couple of cocktail videos a month. We're trying to do more, but time always gets the best of us. But once we ever find like a recipe that we just absolutely love, we just always want to share it. And just, as I said, show how fun and easy and versatile smoking your cocktails can be.
Mm-hmm. Well, you do a great job of it.
Well, we've been having a lot of fun with it, which has been great. And that's where the experimentation comes in with the smoke cocktails. It's all about experimenting and just having fun.
Mm-hmm. So where do you ship your products? If we go to your website, who can order from you?
We can ship across North America. We can also ship international as well. However, that will take a little bit of time, just FYI. But yeah, we ship everywhere from Quebec, Nova Scotia, Vancouver, all the way down to Florida, Ohio, California. So we've really tried to be as accessible as possible.
And you mentioned earlier to us that you've been at some markets. Do you have some coming up?
We have been at One of a Kind in Toronto. We'll do markets, Spruce Meadows in Calgary. We'll go to Vancouver, Edmonton. So we're really taking this show on the road.
That's awesome. Well, we hope everybody looks into it and gets experimenting with smoking. Go get your Spirits with Smoke kits and get experimenting with your cocktails. Yeah. Can you remind our listeners what your website and your socials, where they can find you?
Yeah, the best place to find us is either on Instagram at Spirits with Smoke. And then our website is basically the same. It's just www.spiritswithsmoke.com.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'm so glad that we could fit this in before the holidays, but people can be smoking their cocktails all year round. So if you don't get it for the holidays, don't worry. Impress your Valentine with a smoked.
Ooh, that would be a good one, especially when they're hard to buy for.
Yeah.
We do custom engravings too, so that might be a nice touch.
Oh, that's a great idea. Awesome.
Okay, thank you both. This has been a pleasure.
So much fun. Thanks so much, guys.
Talk to you guys a bit.
Hey listener, don't go anywhere just yet. Join us for our second half where we'll tell you how we experimented with smoke in our kitchens. We really loved this so much. Go and check out spiritswithsmoke.com if you'd like to get your own smoking saucer. And for sure, check out their website and Instagram. They've got great videos and advice on how to use your smoker. And if you're a little late for the holidays, don't forget, Valentine's Day is just around the corner. Now join us to hear what kind of trouble we got into. All right. Well, that was so informative listening to all these different things that you can smoke. I mean, I really only thought it was cocktails, but getting into this smoking salt and smoking food thing that's where my favorite part of this is.
Yeah. And what I also didn't realize is that you're not necessarily just smoking a fully mixed drink. You can smoke the glass before you pour the drink. You can smoke the various components within the drink.
Yeah.
And you can do it however your little heart desires. That's what was so fun about experimenting with this stuff.
Yeah. And successfully, we did this without setting off your fire alarm.
Nobody had to call the fire department.
No.
It actually, if you're wondering about this, it actually does not create a whole lot of smoke in your house.
No, that's what's really interesting is how when you light these chips up, everything kind of sinks down.
Yeah, even when you remove the saucer, you let the smoke go in and then you remove the saucer. It's not like, whoa, there's so much smoke in my house.
Yeah.
I don't know what I was expecting it to do. But it's actually very well contained, and you need not really a lot of smoke to get a really great aroma and flavor out of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think we definitely found out, especially when you're smoking drinks, is that you can have too much. So yes. It is a good idea. And I mean, it's not hard work to maybe experiment before you start serving your smoked drinks and see what amount of smoke you like. And you can kind of just play with that sort of level like everything else as you go.
Yeah. Okay, where do we want to start?
Well, let's start in the natural way that we actually did this in your kitchen.
I can't remember.
Oh, that's right.
I remember
she was
what
the
we did.
consumer of the drinks.
That part's true. I got to drink the cocktails as we went. That's true, but I can't remember which one we did first. So
we started with the margarita.
That might be why I don't remember.
That's why you don't remember.
That went down so easily. Oh, that was so good.
Yeah. So we made just a simple margarita.
A classic lime margarita.
You can check out the recipe on our website.
And in advance, I had made a simple syrup with honey and water and smoked the syrup in just a little mason jar. I smoked it and put the lid on top and let it sit until we were ready to mix our drink.
Yeah. And then we also smoked the salt that we put on the rim of the margarita. And
that is one of our favorite things we discovered out of this whole episode was that smoked salt.
Maybe we just really like salt because this is like the salted lemons of 2021. This is now becoming the smoked salt
of 2023.
Of 2024 because this shit is moving into the new year with me.
I've already been enjoying it in many ways. Oh my God, it's so good.
So good. Okay. And then we also made just nice fresh salsa using some fresh tomatoes, some jalapenos, onions, lime. We'll put the recipe up again. And we smoked that in a mason jar as well. I would say either we had to get more coverage with the smoke on the mason jar or a longer time, but then we did add the smoked salt on top of that salsa, and that just made it.
I think the salt just took it over the top. It was so good. But I agree we could probably have smoked the salsa a little bit longer.
Yeah, I think you could experiment with that one a little bit more.
Yeah, I was just going to say maybe you smoke the jar, put your salsa in, smoke the salsa, and then close it up so that way you get a bit more of it surrounding the salsa.
That's right. We didn't think about smoking the jar beforehand. That is a great idea, Heather. See?
Yeah, let's try that because I'm definitely making this again.
Oh my gosh, yes. So I think that was Meredith's suggestion that Mexican cuisine goes really well with the smoky flavors. And I would say, ding, ding, she's hit the nail on the head. Margarita, salsa, and chips. Oh, yes.
Oh, it was so good. That margarita was killer. There's something about adding the smoke to it. And she also, I think Meredith had also said you could smoke your tequila. And I think that would add, if you're loving the smoky, you could amp it up by smoking your spirit as well. It would be delicious. All right. So then the second thing we made, which I liked almost as much, is the Negroni, which Brandon and Meredith both said was one of their favorite things to smoke right now, favorite drinks to smoke right now. It's having a moment, as they say.
The Negroni itself is having a moment, and then putting it into a smoked cocktail, it's hitting all the right notes.
Yeah, so this one we mixed the cocktail and then we put the saucer on top and smoked the drink. This is where we went a little too far. We put a little too much smoke on this one, just trying to experiment a little bit. But
we were having fun taking smoky pictures, let's be honest. And we were like, ooh, that looks pretty. Let's do that again and again. And it's like, oh,
oops, and now it's a bit too strong. It didn't stop me from drinking it, but it was it was a little too much. But it's fun to figure that out.
Yeah, and the Negroni itself is I hadn't tried one before. It's a very spirit forward drink, as they say. It is just multiple alcohols mixed together with an ice. We sadly did not have a one big large ice cube to put in this. I think any bartender would probably be like, well, of course you only use a big ice cube, but that was our mistake. I think it would be really good with that big ice so that it kind of dilutes a little bit as you're drinking it and keeps it nice and cool and fresh.
It's a slow sipper.
It's a slow sipper, yeah.
Whereas the margarita goes down a little faster.
The margarita is more like juice.
Yeah, exactly.
And then we had a little bit of fun with the snack. We had some boxes of Chex because we thought, hey, maybe we can make a Chex mix or a nut mix, because that's usually something that you see on the side with those stronger drinks to kind of munch on, or something that you can easily make and have if you're having a party or a gathering, just having those little bowl of nuts. And so we went and followed the Chex mix recipe on the box. We modified it a little bit, so we'll post that up on the website as well. And then we thought, well, hey, if you can smoke a salsa, why can't you smoke a Chex Mix?
Again,
Great idea.
winner. And I'm going to give credit where it's due.
Okay.
Karen, it was your suggestion to do this smoked salsa and Chex Mix, and I was just going along for the drinks, but that's what it's like. Oh, so yummy. I ate like that whole bowl pretty much after you left. I pretty much demolished that myself, and the kids were like, well, I hardly got any. And I'm like, snooze you lose, suckers.
Tough luck.
So good.
When we first made it, we were like, I don't know, like it's okay. We added the smoke to it, and like you said, like I couldn't stop eating it. Like while we were taking pictures, even I think there were like fingers in and out constantly, because man, that stuff, the smoke went so well with the flavors in there.
It is a savory, salty, savory snack. I think that lends itself really well to that smoke.
Oh yeah,
We just amped it up.
yeah, those were fantastic.
Well, this was just too much fun.
Yeah.
And we made a huge mess in my kitchen and took way too many pictures and videos because we were having so much fun with all of this.
Yeah.
And it was so good. Like, sometimes you experiment and you're not so crazy about the result. We loved all of it. It was so good.
If you want to do something fun with some extra flavors, this is the way to go. This is the new kitchen tool of the year. It's having a moment, jump on board. It is so worth it.
And as Meredith said, you can also smoke mocktails if you're not an alcohol consumer. I can't wait to try cheese. We were going to do that and we didn't get to it. So I absolutely want to try the cheese balls that you made for the party episode.
Yeah, this is a great tool to have in your kitchen. You can smoke anything and everything, and you should knock your guests' socks off with these wicked flavors.
You're going to love it.
Yeah.
So as we've said, I don't know how many times already, we highly recommend you go check out Spirits with Smoke.
Yeah.
They have a really great website with amazing videos where they show you how to do stuff. They've got all their products can be purchased online.
If you're local here in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, they're local, so support a local business.
Small company. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Do your good deed of the season.
Yes.
And you will be rewarded.
Oh, we're going to love it. And now for the fine print. Join us over on the socials, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and on our website at threekitchenspodcast.com. Word of mouth is the #1 way people find a new podcast. And remember, when you like, follow, subscribe, and leave a review, it helps more people find us. Thank you so much for listening. I almost said I'm a big gin drinker, which doesn't sound very... I drink a lot. No.